You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Horror Ramblings Podcast, the show about all things horror. We hope you enjoy the show.
Well, hello everyone out there in the horror world. Your ears are not deceiving you. I'm back. Stephen was so kind to record by himself, which is just, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. This is the Horror Ramblings Podcast. I'm going to say that, even though if you're listening, you know what you're listening to. But
you would hope.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, you never know. But I listened to the episode. Which will at this time it's this week's episode, but by the time this airs, it'll be last week's episode. Don't know why I did that, but whatever. But I was in the hospital with the wife. Had a ghoulish little boy who is, I think, going to be a horror fan if I have any say in it. So you took the reins, and I know you were trying to find maybe someone to guest star with you in my absence, but you still pulled it off flying solo, and great job on the show. Like,
well, thank you.
I enjoyed it.
I personally didn't feel like, I don't know, I feel like it could have been better, but again, as I kind of prefaced it up top, I didn't want to make everyone think that I was just half-assing it. I really was on limited amounts of time because I was trying to line up somebody. Katrina and I had even talked about an episode, actually 2 different episode ideas, because I was trying to accommodate with the limited time we had. We didn't have time to watch the one movie that we did want to watch and then talk about. And then when it came down time to spitball another idea that I had that we didn't require watching anything, time was just not with us. And I thought, well, what could I do? And then I had recently watched Anthropophagus, and I thought, it's an odd movie that, I don't hear a lot of people talk about, so screw it. I'll write something up about it.
Nothing wrong with that.
And like I said, I apologize if everything seems a little rushed, and I'm sure there were some even paper crinkles, because I wrote down my notes. I normally just read them off of the computer, but I thought, no, I'll have paper notes just in case.
Yeah.
So I had something to reference.
I'll be honest. I was working on a group project for something just this past week, and we were doing a PowerPoint thing, and everyone uploaded their own audio. Well, there's one of the people that's talking, and they've got music playing in the background while they're talking. Now, they were talking about music, but the music that I heard in the background was not any of the music that they were talking about. So I'm not sure, not sure what that was about. I mean, I don't know. I'm okay with some noises in the background. I like hearing paper crumbling and stuff, because to me it's like, oh, this person's looking over their notes, making sure that they've got their got their facts right. So, but I really enjoyed the episode. I haven't gotten the chance to watch the film, so after hearing you talk about it, it's definitely one of those weird things that I think I need to watch. I wanted to tell you too. There's a movie on Hulu. Hulu. God, I can't talk right this morning. Hulu, everybody.
Hello.
There is a movie on Hulu that just released, I think. It's, I'll have to find the title of it. It is a home invasion movie, but not what you would think.
Okay.
It involves aliens.
Oh.
And it actually looks really good. It's called No One Will Save You. And it says, it looks like Time actually released like a statement about it. And they said, No One Will Save You is an alien thriller with no dialogue.
Oh, okay.
I've seen some clips of it, and there's like different styles of the aliens. Like they all look pretty similar, but like there's one that's got extended limbs. There's one that looks more humanoid in the way it's built. But I don't know, from what I've seen of it, it actually looks pretty damn good.
Okay.
There was a clip that I had seen, one of the one of the aliens, it was a real little alien body, but it had like real long limbs. It was stalking this girl, and they're in the bathroom, and she grabs a mop, and she's just whacking at it, trying to get it away from her, and it hits the mop and it breaks it. So there's a point on it, and she stabs into its arm and stabs it into a cabinet nearby, and then the door swings open and she slams the door on its head and knocks it out. And I'm watching this part, and I'm like, that's actually, like, it's kind of practical. Like, that's in a weird way, that's like something real that I could see somebody doing. Like, if somebody broke into your house and you only had a broom to fight them off with and they snapped it, well, now you got a weapon to stab them. And if you can hit them with a cabinet door to knock them out, yeah. But from what I've seen of it, it looks really interesting, and I cannot place the girl's name. I've seen her face before. I know I could Google it. I'm not going to worry about it right this second. But if you see the girl's face, you'll know that you've seen her in other things.
Gotcha. And what was the name of the movie again?
It's called No One Will Save You.
No One Will Save You. I feel like the more I'm saying it in my head, I may have seen something about it, but it was one of those I didn't dig deep into. I just maybe had seen a headline about it. Don't know. Yeah, I might have to give it a look. It's
funny, too, because it says on here, because I just Google searched the movie itself. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I did it. It says why to watch, and it says it is the #1 most searched sci-fi film on streaming today.
Okay.
So it's really popular. It's got a 6.5 out of 10. It's got a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't always go off of that stuff just because if the people watching it think it's a little slow and they don't like that it's going a little slow, it's art. It's up for debate, whatever you think of it,
I'm glad you brought that up because I want to rant a little bit about something that no one will ever get to hear now, probably. So earlier this week, if you're following Super Mega Crash Beyond, I went on a tirade, an angry tirade, because I've told you, and now the audience, if you listen to that, know I lost my external hard drive with all my stuff on it, and I don't want to go too deep into that because I pretty much went into a frenzy on that, okay? And within doing so, I lost 3 episodes of that podcast that I did not edit because the whole purpose of us recording ahead was to give me time to just so I'm not rushing. I could just take my time and do little things if I wanted. And one of the episodes we had recorded was about critics because I saw something not too long ago where the critical response of something, as you just kind of mentioned, you see these uneven scores, whether it be on Rotten Tomatoes, and I know that I think that was actually one of the topics we brought up, was talking about how they are kind of under fire here recently because some studio was paying critics to give their shitty movie positive reviews, and they got caught. So that just started to make me wonder how many, because if this is a smaller studio, some of the bigger ones have done that, to push that narrative. But at the end of the day, you take a look at what audiences want to watch and what they don't want to watch. Now, I understand that seeing certain movies that are terrible, or at least are perceived to be terrible, become these big global box office hits and no one can understand it. Guess what? That's the audience, man. The audience does not give a shit what critics are saying. If they love it, they will go see it. Take a look at Barbie. It is not the most critically acclaimed movie. It's well regarded, I guess, as far as critical reviews go. But the audience has spoken.
Yeah.
They have said, we love this, and we're going to watch it. And, of course, studios are going to take the wrong thing away from this hit. It's something new. It's something different. We have not seen this before, and they will now run it into the ground where people are going to be tired of seeing Barbie.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But I have not seen it. I don't know. But, yeah, the critics, man, just watch what you like. Don't give a shit about critics. That was kind of the overall consensus we kind of came with. Like, maybe if you want to have an idea on whether or not you might like it, find a critic that you seem to align with. That way you kind of have an idea. Like if you're looking for something, you kind of want someone's opinion. That's where I say look at a critic. But at the end of the day, you may disagree with the critic.
Yeah.
At times. And just be aware of that. So make your own judgments. You have the choice to like or not like a movie. If someone says, I hate that movie, but you love it, who cares?
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
I also, while we're on this topic, just real quick, there used to be a show, it was a whole network on TV. I think it was called like G4 Network.
Yeah,
they did
yeah.
video games, comics.
Mm-hmm.
There were two guys on it. They had their own show, and I feel bad because it's been so long I can't remember real well.
Well, what was the show about? I bet you I could tell you.
They would review video games and movies and comics, and it was just two guys. They were buddies. But maybe this will make you be able to kind of compress it down and figure out who I'm talking about, because this is what I loved about their show.
Mm-hmm.
They would review things, and when I was younger, I hated that they did it, but now it makes sense to me. They would review things, but they would also review it and judge their review based off of if they were fans of the source material.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think they reviewed, I think, a Punisher video game, I think.
Yeah.
One of the Punisher video games. And the guy flat out said, he's like, I'm not a fan of the series. This didn't really make me want to get more involved in the series. So that affected his review.
Sure.
Looking back at that, I think that's an interesting concept, and that kind of falls in line with what you were saying. Find people who have the same likes that you have, because if they like it, there's a high chance that you're going to like it. It's going to drive me crazy because I cannot think of their names, and I'm sorry.
Well, that sounds, if they did more than just video games, if they were doing like a whole, because video game reviews, that came down to X Play.
I know it wasn't X Play.
But if it was a bigger show, it might have been Attack of the Show.
Maybe
I think that was.
Maybe it was Attack of the Show, and maybe they had like a snippet on it where they talked about stuff. It might have been them, but I think that's a great concept. I think that when people review things, I think they honestly should be like, "Hey, I didn't like it, but I'm not a horror movie fan. Mm-hmm. I didn't like it, but I'm not a fan of romantic comedies, or I'm not a fan of this." So it's not going to pull people who aren't necessarily fans of that stuff into it. But if you're a hardcore horror fan, you're like, yeah, it was a great movie for what it was.
Yeah.
As a horror fan, it was a great movie. I think that should be put out there into the public. People should know that.
Sure.
What was it? The Mario movie? I'm trying to think. Was it the Mario movie that like the critic reviews weren't very good for it, but the audience? I remember us having this conversation. Right, there's another thing that proves you can't go off of what critics say. The critics were kind of shitting on it, but then you go and all the fans are like, "We love it. Give us more." So,
I mean, I was one of the first people to say when we saw the Super Mario movie. I think when we talked about it on Super Mega Crash Brothers Turbo, I gave it kind of a middling review because I felt like everything just felt rushed and just there no character development that I feel like the movie should have had. But again, I am not the target demographic, and I had to understand that. Now, the second viewing, when I got it at home, I changed my tune. I thought, you know what, this is a lot of fun. I just let it play as is, and I didn't dislike it as much. I was like, all right, you know what, I'm kind of digging this now.
And I think that digs from the fact that Mario is such an established character already. Mm-hmm. I think that they just went, we're going to make a movie that the kids will like, that will have some little references in it for the adults, and they just sort of let it go.
Right.
Because I had the same view that you did, and I remember us talking about that, feeling it was a little rushed.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. So, I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things.
That's why I always say, kind of go back to a movie and watch it. I'll even kind of point to Anthropophagus for since I just talked about it last week. It has set with me long enough that I probably would rewatch it again. I don't know if I would do it on my own time, but if I wanted to show it to somebody, I would do it again. If the moment struck me for whatever reason to want to revisit it, I might. And it's just one of those that if it sits with me long enough, if a movie is sticking with you for whatever reason, despite how you felt about it, it's had an impact, and maybe you need to rewatch it again to figure out why.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend that. And regarding what you love, I will defend Godzilla movies from the 1960s and 70s. All these cheap, every list that you'll see on the internet, there's like the cheesiest, corniest, lamest Godzilla movies ever made. This is the worst. I love it.
Yeah.
Godzilla's Revenge, I think, is probably one of the ones people hate the most because you've got his Godzilla son talks in the movie, which is really jarring. And if you watch the English dub, he sounds like Barney. But you know what? I've watched it so much, I'm just like, I don't care.
Right.
I really don't. I take it as it is, and I enjoy every minute of it. And so that's me.
Yeah.
It's not going to be for everybody.
Hey,
I understand that.
I'm the same way with you. You tell me that there's an 80s horror movie, like B movie marathon on, the real cheesy, low budget 80s horror movies. I'm a happy guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how bad they are. There's an appeal to it.
Yeah,
So-
whatever it is, there's just something about it. And it's funny you kind of say that, because I was even thinking that the other day. There's a feel to those movies. I don't know what it is, but you know exactly the era in which they came out and just what they're aiming for. It's weird, but we can tell. It's like you have this sense. It's like, oh yeah, this is an 80s slasher. Or this is an 80s, so I can't explain it. It's just there. You know it.
Yeah. I think it all borders on nostalgia. I think movies that do really well have a way of making people feel nostalgic when they watch them. Mm-hmm. It can be something completely new, but you just get a feeling for it. And I think that's honestly why a lot of studios just remake things all the time. They just remake them. But they forget that you can get that same magic with something new.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy. Like, I'll say this today, and I might get some hate for this. We didn't get to watch all of it. From what I watched of it, I really enjoyed it. Disney's movie Elemental, not a horror movie, but that movie got shit on quite a bit. It didn't do very well. I don't understand why it didn't do well, personally. To me, it felt like a really good Pixar movie.
Yeah.
And again, this boils down to critics. This boils down to people boycotting movies for whatever reason, and everything else. Disney just had that movie. I think it was called like Odd World or Strange World.
Strange New World, yeah.
And it's been shit on because one of the characters in it the people's son has a boyfriend, and they're accepting of that. And so a bunch of people got all up in arms about it. And I won't go into that rabbit hole, but just because a movie doesn't do well at the theater or just because it's getting shit on by critics does not mean it's not a good movie. And even if people praise a movie, that doesn't mean that it's a good movie.
If there's something about the movie that appeals to you, check it out.
Yeah.
Make your own judgment. I mean, that's about as simple as it can get.
Yeah, I agree with you there. While we were chit-chatting, that Alien movie I was telling you about, the girl that's in it is named Caitlin Dever. Have you ever seen the show Last Man Standing?
I know of it, but I've not watched it.
She is one of Tim Allen's daughters in that show.
Ah, okay.
I've seen her. That's the biggest thing I know her from. I really liked her in Last Man Standing, actually. She's a really good character in that show. And she's only 26, so she's a younger actress. But I'll tell you, from what I've seen in it, she definitely puts you in the moment of feeling the stress and being worried that something bad's going to happen and getting your adrenaline going. So
yeah,
it's one that it's one I haven't checked out yet, but I plan to check out. I need to watch it, and there's a movie called Cobweb that I need to watch as well. I've been seeing a lot of, and I've seen clips. It looks really good. And there's another film I'm trying to find the title of. I just saw a clip of it the other day. This lady was a nurse, and she basically gets people to come to her home, and they basically drug these people, and they put them in a state where they can't escape. They sew their eyes. They inject stuff into their eyes so that they go blind. They sew their eyes up. They do all this shit to these people, and they put them in random little cubby holes in their house. And to me, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
The thought of being just trapped somewhere and never being able to escape. Yeah, I'm good. But I gotta find the title of that one. But that one looks really good too. But here I am talking. I've got other things I'll bring up while we do the show. Do you have horror news that you wanna share?
Yeah, I kind of dug a little deep since we had 2 weeks worth of news, and it felt a little slow considering this is 2 weeks worth of stuff, but I cherry picked some stuff that I thought would be worth mentioning. One in particular, if there are any fans who are excited. I'm a little excited, mainly because this is kind of my jam, creature features. If you have yet to see The Meg 2, The Trench, It is now on Max starting today when this episode comes out, which is September 29th, I think. 27, 20. Let me look. Yeah, 29th. So September 29th, today, the Meg 2 is on Max. So if you're looking forward to seeing that, which I am, I'm going to go check it out. It should be on the service now. I know we mentioned Duel, the Steven Spielberg directed TV movies coming to 4K. Got a release date for it, November 14th. I thought when I read about this that maybe it was Shout Factory putting it out. It's actually Universal.
Oh, wow.
And they actually did a little bit of work, because I was looking at some of the specs, and they did the gold standard. If you're going to do these transfers, they went back to the original camera negative. So at least they're putting out a decent, proper version.
Kudos to them for that one.
Yeah. So I'm excited. This is probably the most I've seen them put out for a 4K release since Jaws, and another Spielberg. Go figure. Kind of makes you think he's the one putting the money up behind it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What else? Oh, since we also talked about this not that long ago, and I think this trailer came out during the week we were off. Pet Sematary Bloodlines. We got a trailer for that, and Stephen King said that they're taking some liberties on the story. Now, I know when we kind of brought it up before, we didn't really have a clear picture what they were doing, because again, we hadn't seen the trailer. And then after seeing the trailer and kind of getting some context, now I'm a little bit more intrigued by it, because they are telling the story that we hear in the original film from Fred Gwynn's character. I can't remember the actual name. It's right there, but I can't pull for it. But whatever story he had about the pet cemetery, this is supposedly that story, again, with some liberties taken.
I have to tell you, I was telling my father about this movie, and he was like, yeah, I saw the trailer. He's like, I don't know how to feel about it. I was like, well, it's basically the story of why the old guy in the first movie goes, sometimes dead is better. That's the way that I've summed it up.
Which, I mean, why not? And that's it wasn't a story that I was thinking about,
Yeah.
I don't know why that part of it never registered that that's what we were doing. And then once I heard that, I was like, oh, okay. And we saw the cast. I'm sure that they had announced it at some point, but actually seeing who was in it, that's pretty solid cast. Would you have like David Duchovny and Pam Grier? I know I saw her in it.
Mm-hmm.
There was another face that.
Yeah,
Henry Thomas.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, that was the other one. Maybe somebody else that I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, I'm down to see it.
Did you see that John Carpenter is releasing a series?
I feel like I did hear something about that. Yeah. Something about Suburbs or something.
Yeah. It's Oh, here I go googling it again.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, because I can't remember. But
I
I know I saw something.
Yeah, I
about
just
it.
saw a trailer for it too, and it actually does look pretty interesting. Where you at? See here. Not John Copper. Oh my goodness, I cannot type today apparently.
Well, while you're looking at that, I do have a little bit of John Carpenter.
Suburban Screams.
Okay, yeah.
So go ahead
Suburban
with what
Screams,
you were going
that's
to say, though. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Apparently there's a remake of Christine coming, and I can't remember who was behind that right offhand, but apparently he gave his thoughts on it. I'm assuming maybe he's kind of involved in some way, maybe kind of like what he did with Halloween, kind of there, but not really doing much. And I didn't even think about that too. You'd be surprised that why would you be asking him? Granted, I understand he directed the original, but wouldn't you want to ask Stephen King?
Yeah.
his opinion? Not that I honestly don't know how he feels about John Carpenter's Christine, to be honest. But.
It would be interesting if they sort of did with Christine what they did with the It film that they did, because they didn't change a whole lot other than they changed the time period that it happened in. Mm-hmm. When Tim Curry was Pennywise, that took place in the 60s. Yeah. And then in the newer one, I think it was the 80s, I think it was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It'd be interesting to see like a more modern day Christine where that's happening today. It could still be a vintage car and everything.
Sure.
But have it happen today, and then maybe have John Carpenter's original story be like the legend of what Christine is. That would be interesting.
So he seems to think that it's going to be better than his. So that's high praise,
I would say.
you know. And I mean, that was at a time he was kind of knocking them out of the park. You know, I feel like I guess maybe had a lemon or two here and there, but I mean, dude was already, like I said, he'd already done Halloween, already done the thing. I mean, he was doing some pretty monstrous work at that time.
He could have taken some time off.
Sure. But like I said, I can't remember exactly who's involved with that. But if he's giving it praise, you know, he said the same thing about Halloween, David Gordon Green and all that they were doing. So I'm anxious to see what comes of it. And speaking of Halloween, good segue. There's apparently a book coming out that is an official making of Halloween. Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. I don't know who the chronicler, is that a word? I don't know. Whoever wrote down all this stuff and has compiled it into a book, it may be just various stories. I didn't dig too deep into it, but if you're interested in the making of in book form, it's coming out, releases on October 17th. And while I don't know when this is coming out, I figured that if anyone out there might be interested, I read that the original novelization for John Carpenter's Halloween is actually being reprinted. So keep your eyes open for that if that might interest you at all. I don't know if there would be anything in there that I feel like I've heard stories where they say if you look in the novelization, it explains this or explains that. And, you know, little details that were either left out of the original script or they just didn't feel the need to film it because it was like, who cares? So, you know, interesting little tidbits if your horror memorabilia needs this novel, I guess. What else? Oh, got a full trailer for Chucky Season 3 and confirmed the kids are coming back. I was curious how they were going to tie in, so I'm guessing he's using the whole White House trick as a way to lure them out, maybe, or just to fuck with them because it's Chucky. And even saw Jennifer Tilly coming back, so good to see her. Good to see the whole gang is still there. So I'm excited to see how this plays out because Chucky in the White House, who would have thought? It's just weird, you know, but hey, it's all worked up to now, at least as far as I'm concerned.
We could get Chucky in space. I'm just saying.
We're not far off. I mean, season 4, that's about the time you do a space one, right? Think about it.
I mean,
Think about it. I'm not wrong. Leprechaun 4, Hellraiser 4, I'm sure there's another 4 that went to space.
Somewhere out there, I'm sure.
Sharknado went to space, but I think it was like 6 or 7. I don't know. Who cares? Anyway, what else do we have? Okay, so yeah, I felt like this one might be worth a quick discussion because I have not seen this, and it's been a movie that I've wanted to check out because there's something about it has kind of caught my interest, but I just have not gotten around to it. But now there is a sequel being ordered by Netflix for the creature feature Troll that's on their service. Apparently it's a very popular foreign film, and now it's getting a sequel, and I was just like, oh, okay. So have you ever seen that? Have you looked into it?
I've looked into it. I have not seen it. I thought it was related somewhat to, there's a movie called Troll Hunter.
Yeah.
That come out, and it's like a found footage film where the people like find a bunch of trolls in it, I believe. So I thought this was something to do with that. I've seen some clips and some trailers for it. It looks really interesting. Have not watched it. I didn't know that they were planning on a sequel. So
yeah. So apparently it's popular enough to warrant as such. And coming from Netflix, that's you talk about high praise, man. They cancel things left and right if it doesn't go right. I know a lot of people were on the edge of their seats with One Piece when it came out. People were like, please don't cancel it.
You just reminded me of something. I was going to mention it back when you were talking about Halloween. I guess a bunch of people are petitioning for Jamie Lee Curtis to play a character in season 2. And she actually went on Instagram and said she would be glad to after the strikes are over.
Yeah, I think I saw that very post. I mean, Katrina showed it to me because she was all excited because she saw it. And I guess she was in the picture dressed up like the character. And she's like, oh my God, please. And I was like, okay, well, if you say so, you know the anime better than I. What else? Okay. Interesting little tidbit of news. Tony Todd is going to come back for Final Destination 6. playing Bloodworth. And apparently in the script or the story, it's actually going to explore his backstory and maybe shake some things up, if you will.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued. I still need to watch 5 before I get to this one. And I know it's an older movie, but I may have mentioned this on the show before, but I went to listen to a podcast that was doing a breakdown of all these movies. And when they started talking about 5, they mentioned something about a twist toward the end. And I immediately turned it off because I was like, what twist could there be in Final Destination 5 that would, because the way they were talking about it, it was so shocking. Like they did not expect what happened. And that was enough for me to go, okay, stop. I want to experience that one for myself because you're really selling it right now. And normally when I think I listened to a review for the movie Blue Beetle not that long ago. I know that's not a horror movie, but I didn't turn it off when they were coming to spoilers because it was like, what could you spoil that I don't already expect out of this movie? Not to say that it's a bad movie. I've not seen it. But it seemed to hit the same, from what I've been hearing, the same tropes. If you've seen Iron Man, if you've seen Spider-Man, if all the ones, how they have a formula where they have to fight someone just like them. That's what I expected, and sure enough, that's what they were kind of laying out. I'm sorry if I spoiled anything, but I'm just saying. You've seen it. They said it's still good, just nothing new.
Predictable, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, fair enough. So, but yeah, Troll, and then Final Destination, got that. And
just to real quick on the Tony Todd thing, I love that he's doing Venom's voice in the new Spider-Man video game.
Yeah.
And I really hope that they're able to put something in there where Venom says something to somebody about being his victim.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be cool if they
awesome.
threw that in there. Just, you know, a little shout out for that. That would be awesome.
For sure. Probably going to tag him on X when Spider-Man 2 comes out because I want to try to get his attention, because we're chums, he and I, on X, huh? Weird as that is, I don't know why.
I would love to have him. I would love to have him come on the show.
Yeah.
He'd be a fantastic guest.
For sure. Maybe we could pull some strings. Who knows? That would be a get right there. Okay. Some planned releases coming out. Apparently we're getting a sequel to Brightburn. Hooray!
Yes.
I'm excited.
Very underappreciated movie.
Yeah. I'm hoping that this will give them a little bit more breathing room because I understand what they were trying to do with the original, and I appreciate the evil Superman is kind of it's a worn out trope at this point, I feel, but I appreciate how they approached it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't approaching it as like, well, now we're taking Superman and we're turning him dark because he's Superman and something happened. It's a fascinating concept to explore, but they didn't have all the Superman-esque lore, backstories, and everything to have to hang on to. They just said, well, what if some kid like Superman came to Earth and he did not have the same childhood as Clark Kent and yada, yada, yada. But then at the end, spoilers if you've not seen this movie, at the end, during the mid-credits, we get hints that there are more very Justice League-esque characters out there in the world. I don't really feel like they gave us any kind of indication or didn't really get to see them, but you knew kind of who they were referencing. I feel like it was Wonder Woman and maybe The Flash. Yeah. Something like that.
The thing about Brightburn for me is that really differentiates it from just, it's a story about an evil Superman. To me, it almost felt like this kid was part of a race that was sent out to conquer planets. Like that. Yeah. And it's like he's trying to just be human. He's trying to live a normal life, but he's got this urge within him that he's fighting to conquer, to destroy. And the events that take place in the film ultimately lead him to make that decision. And I don't know, there's just something about that maybe I'm looking deeper into it, but that helped me relate to it more. Concept. Like I loved it because of that.
I'm intrigued to see where they go with it. Yeah. Because do I want to see like a evil Justice League? Not really. I mean, since they've already set it up, sure, I'd be intrigued to see what they do with it, but I want more than just, what if, evil Justice League. Then what's that like? Hell, I'd love to see a Batman-esque character show up who is actually trying to stop them, kind of put a reverse on everything, where Batman, not that he's a bad guy, but in the comics they've had stories where Batman has been under scrutiny from the other heroes because they found out he had files, very detailed files on every member, and knew how to stop them should they go rogue.
There's a great animated movie about that, by the way.
Yeah, and it does feel like a betrayal of trust. I get that. But he is only human. And he is surrounded by gods. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yep.
Just in case,
I'm just going to say this real quick. There is an animated movie about that where some villains manage to steal his plans, and they nearly kill everybody in the Justice League. They all find out at the end. They are all threatening to kick him out to vote on it, and Batman just basically, I'm not going to put it as elegantly as he put it, but he basically said, fuck you guys. I don't need to be in the Justice League. He goes to teleport out, and Superman walks to where he's at, and he goes, you had all these plans for us to take us out if we went rogue, but what about you? What if you went rogue? What would stop you then? And before he teleports off, Batman utters the best line ever, the Justice League. He gets teleported out. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair. That's right. I mean, absolutely. So, I don't know. Something like that maybe could be interesting, but again, I'm going to trust that they know what they're doing. I'm assuming James Gunn is writing this, whether or not he's going to direct, but I'm hoping he has some input, at least in the script.
Yeah.
I know that he didn't direct the original, but I know he was involved in some ways. So even if it's just based on a story or maybe an idea of his, I'd love to see what his input is on that. Smile 2 has a planned release date, which is October 24th of next year. So hopefully the strikes will be done within that time. Maybe that's why they're giving it a wide berth of a year. Hopefully the strikes will be over by then.
Yeah.
Because as of right now, when we're recording, shit's still going on.
Yeah.
I know there's been there's been talk, whether or not, I don't know how true this is, that there was some movement, but I feel like it was only with the Writers Guild, not the actors, or it was the actors, not the writers.
Yeah.
So even if one guild takes a deal and it's suitable, you still have the other one. And
I do know that from the last article that I had read, the discussions are still happening. They are making some headway, and I guess things aren't as heated as they have been. Mm-hmm. But I think the last thing I read, I think it was the Writers Guild, maybe.
Yeah.
So writers get shit on more. I get actors get shit on, but you look at how much writers get shit on in Hollywood. It's sickening.
Yeah.
They're pumping,
and they're the ones crafting these stories.
They're pumping out all this entertainment for everyone, and they get the least credit. They get shit on so much.
Well, take a look at how many unmade scripts we've heard of, or how many times a script goes through draft after draft after draft because they're just like, well, this is not what we're looking for. This isn't good enough. And so much to the point that it just starts to make you wonder, well, what exactly are you ever going to commit to? Because I'll use this one as an example of something that could have been versus what was. Not horror related, but bear with me. The last Star Wars film that came out, in the Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker, there's an entire script out there that is on the internet, to my understanding, that is the original script that Colin Trevorrow was going to direct. When he was planning on directing that film, this was going to be his script. But then after The Last Jedi came out, and fans lost their fucking minds over Star Wars, big surprise, right? Then what does the studio do? They're just like, well, we can't make that. Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. Trust that this is going to be the story that needs to be told. Why are you panicked? Yeah. You committed to it before the audience lost their fucking minds. You committed to that story. You saw it. You knew what this movie was before you released it. And now, because fans didn't like your vision, you have to backtrack, and you're going to scrap this script that I hear is very awesome. I have not read it, but I've heard people talk about it, and they say these are more interesting concepts to explore. But what do? We take all these great scripts. I guarantee you there's so many out there that are so original and so good, but yet a studio is going to snatch it up. They're going to hire some hack writer to make it seem more like another movie, and no one will get to experience the original idea because there's something about the story. It's just, we can't market that, or we can't sell that. We need something that people are going to want to see.
Yeah.
But how do you know that they're not going to want to see it unless you give it to them? You know?
Mm-hmm.
I just...
Speaking of
writers are shit on.
Speaking of Star Wars, just real quick, I think this is kind of funny. So I know you have like a love-hate thing for Zack Snyder.
No, I hate that.
That's right, you hate him. Sorry.
I think he's overrated.
Who is it you have the love-hate thing for? I'm trying to think. There's another director you kind of have a love-hate thing for. I feel like we've talked about him. It'll come to me.
Yeah, it'll come to.
Or maybe it's an actor.
There are plenty of those.
But anyways, I think this is hilarious though. Zack Snyder wanted to make a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, and he did technically.
He didn't get to make a full-fledged Star Wars movie, so he just made a deal with Netflix and made his own movie. Mm-hmm. I haven't heard or seen anything about it, but I think that's hilarious.
I'm not gonna watch it because. The last movie I got burnt, I don't even know why I did, because I heard so many things about it, which was that Army of the Dead movie, and I thought, I'll give it a watch. Why not? Everyone's talking highly about it. Going back to Dawn of the Dead, one of the first early movies of his that was not bad, but again, I credit that to the script that he had from when James Gunn, he's a hack, dude, and I guarantee watching Rebel Moon is going to be some hacky ass piece of shit. Just him creating these 4-hour epics. I don't even know how long it is, but I guarantee
it's 2
about
parts.
3
That's
hours.
all I know.
2 parts. See, there you go. It's probably 4 hours altogether.
Holy crap! I have a great idea.
What's that?
We could totally do a YouTube series where we watch Zack Snyder films just and get your opinion on them.
Oh, dear God, do you know how bad the comment section would be? I would be under attack by all these Snyder cut motherfuckers.
Oh man, it would just
like, oh my God, you just don't understand.
That'd be great though. Oh man,
yeah.
The only director, like, I'll be honest, I don't watch enough Zack Snyder stuff to really judge the guy. I'll be completely honest there. The only director that I've ever really had any kind of beef with, to a degree, was Michael Bay there for a little while, because he was getting a hold of horror movies and just pumping out crap.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, he's made some entertaining stuff. I'll give him that. But
no, I can't. I don't like a lot of his work, but there are some exceptions. There are some movies of his that I'll be like, yeah. I mean, the original Transformers, I actually think is very entertaining. Bad Boys, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
I like Armageddon. I don't know if that's a popular opinion or not, but I think it's a fun ride for what it is.
You know who needs to make a Star Wars movie? Sorry to interrupt you, but I just, for some reason, this popped into my head. They should let Quentin Tarantino make a Star Wars movie.
Dude, he was going to direct a Star Trek movie at some point, or at least that was the rumor, and I guess, you know how studios are. They're afraid.
Could you imagine how gritty that would be?
I would love it. I'm so curious. Like, what would that be? Because when the idea was dropped, I said, the moment I read that headline, I said, absolutely never going to happen. Never. And sure enough, I was right, because come on. I mean, it's just...
And he's been talking about retiring, because he's got this rule of thumb where he wants to make just so many movies and then be done. Like, he still wants to go out on top. And I understand that. I can appreciate that. Mm-hmm. I wish he would... It's circulated around before about him making a horror movie. I would love to see him make one horror film.
Sure.
Because I feel like the way he directs, the way that he writes, the things that he creates, it would be something just way out there.
And with his, like you said, with his skill and know-how, I guarantee he could do it with a very limited budget.
Oh yeah.
Like keep it simple, keep it grimy, and really put your money into like practical effects for whatever gore and shit you're coming up with. Like, that's where you want to set your money. Don't worry about the big stars or anything like that. Just think of a really grimy, gritty horror film that you could sink your teeth into, keep the budget low, and just, he would nail it.
Only thing for budget that he would need to spend a little bit more on, I feel like you have to have Samuel L. Jackson in there somewhere.
Sure.
Because it's Quentin Tarantino.
He could be like the Tony Todd character. He's like, you motherfuckers need to stay away from that house, that swamp, whatever it is where the killer's at. Stay the fuck away.
And they need to do a blooper reel. That way he's like, I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes. Wrong movie. Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
But yeah. Oh, God, that would be great.
Come on, Quentin. One horror movie for the road. And I've heard, I can't think of what they are off the top of my head, but I know he's mentioned horror movies that he loves.
Yeah.
And when you look at him, you're like, dude, solid taste. He's not one of these people that goes for like the most common things that you would think of. He's like going and kind of getting those deep cuts. And you're like, yeah, hell yeah, dude.
I know I've said this to you before on the show, I believe, but one of his favorite films of all time, a movie that he considers one of the best films of all time, is Jaws, because of how great of a thriller it is.
Yeah.
So I'll give him that. And I had a random thought pop into my head the other day. And I know this show's kind of, we're going into a rabbit hole here. And I like when we do episodes like this, honestly. I was thinking about people playing Freddy Krueger the other day.
As you're wont to do.
Yes. And I had this weird idea cross my head just for a second. I would love to see just one scene of Nicolas Cage as Freddy Krueger, just to see what it would be like. Not that it would be good or bad, I don't know, but it would be interesting.
Funny you mention that, because isn't there a movie coming out called Dreamscape with him?
I think so.
And I feel like I heard that there were some Nightmare on Elm Street-ish vibe, dream scenario.
Some people said that there was an article that said that movie proved that a Nightmare on Elm Street remake would work or something like that. But I don't know why. Maybe I saw that article and maybe that's what made me think about it. But I don't know. I enjoyed him as Dracula. He's got this weird energy where if they want to just really throw people off, just do a Freddy that's like that.
Why not?
Or at least give us our final movie. Give us Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. Just do it.
Yeah, throw the money at it. People will flock. I swear to God they will.
There are stuntmen. They can do the stunts. Come on.
Yeah.
Robert Englund can do the voice acting.
Sure. I got 3 more things I want to bring up.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I fell into a rabbit hole there.
Fine. One, I don't have a lot of details on this, but I'm intrigued by it because there may be some movies like this, but I'm hoping that this will be something fun. We're getting a new holiday slasher film called There's Something in the Barn, and apparently it's being dubbed a Christmas elf horror comedy.
Okay.
And that was like, all right, cool. And it stars Martin Starr, who people might know from, I first knew him from, what's the name of that show? Freaks and Geeks.
Okay.
He was one of the main kids in that. He has also been seen in the recent Spider-Man movies from Marvel, and he was also in Silicon Valley as... his character name eludes me. He's kind of got a big bushy beard, glasses, tall, lanky fella. I think he's personally hilarious, so getting to see or hearing that he's going to be in this movie, I'm kind of is a selling point for me. So I'm hoping we hear something good about it. I hope we get a trailer so I can kind of get a vibe for it. But
Killer Elf, yeah, I'm for it.
Yeah, why not a killer elf? We've got enough killer Santa Claus. Why not an elf? And why an elf? Who knows?
One elf that was fed the wrong candy canes or something weird. Fed candy corn instead of candy canes.
Oh, shit.
When
evil.
evil.
That would piss anybody off. We finally got a little snippet about Maxine. Not anything concrete, nothing like a trailer or a release date, but we got an understanding of what the movie might be. It's apparently being described as a whodunit slasher. So that's definitely a far cry from the last 2 films. So I'm intrigued by that. And I'm very curious considering the time frame in which it's supposed to be taking place. And it's like 70s, 80s, wasn't it? Something like that from what we know?
I think so.
I'm curious if he's going to try to tap into like the feel, like we were talking about earlier with slashers having this feel about it. I'm curious if he's going to try to tap into something like that. see if he can't, I don't know, just lock into that feeling, because X kind of had that grimy 70s feel, a little bit more polished than I would expect, but there was something about it that kind of had that. And then, of course, Pearl had this throwback to movies from the 1950s. I know probably hewing more toward the 1940s, like the Wizard of Oz kind of tale of it all, but I don't know. There's something about the time period in which he was trying to tap into, and I feel like he did a good job. So I'm curious if he's going to try that with this as well. Just I don't know what I'm looking for. It's something we can't explain, but you just know it's there. That feeling.
Yeah, there's just this there's a look and the way it looks, the way it sounds. Just it makes you feel just a specific way. It's really hard to explain, but you know it when you know it.
Right. So. Eager to see something about that. Hopefully we'll get a trailer pretty soon. But again, with the strikes going on, I don't know when that'll be. Finally, and I don't know if anyone was expecting us to talk about this, but I'm excited to talk about it for a moment. The Toxic Avenger got its first premiere at Fantastic Fest. And while no one has really given details like great, well, I'll rewind that. IGN put out a review, and I got some things to say about that, but positive reactions overall from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Anybody who was on those who this movie was made for. That's what I want to lay out there. Kind of what I said about Anthropophagus. There are certain movies in these genres that has an audience, and they will love it undeniably. And I think the people who were there watching that at Fantastic Fest, they were the audience for that movie. And I heard nothing but praise over X. But then I read IGN's review, and, they like to... I don't want to be one of those people who criticize critics. But they just always seem like, like, even as they talked about Trauma, they kind of felt like, it's Trauma. And it's like, well, if you don't know what it is, or you don't know what you're getting into, fuck off.
Yep.
Because if it's a Trauma movie, you know what to expect. If you don't know what that is and you're not a fan, fuck off. This is not your movie. And some of the things that I heard, and I liked hearing this, there was one reviewer, and I don't really know how to take it, but it was still kind of amusing. He was like, this is a full-fledged Trauma movie with a touch of class. And I was like, okay. He said, just a touch, not too much, just a little.
I can dig it.
But again, I don't, no one has said too much about it other than just how they felt about it. And that's all I need to hear. I don't need to know details or anything like that, but we did get a few pictures. Elijah Wood, man, somebody made the best comparison of that picture, said he looked like a cross between Danny DeVito's Penguin and Riff Raff from Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I was like, holy shit, spot fucking on.
Oh, I got the Penguin, and I was trying to think of because I was thinking he looks like the love child of two characters. Yeah. Thank you for that. Now I know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Holy, Peter Dinklage in a tutu. Come on. I mean, he's going to be the Toxic Avenger. If people don't like that, if they have a problem with it, they can go to hell.
And that was another thing, too, that I remember hearing someone talk about, is that this confirmed, I know we saw that image, but it was kind of shadowy or whatnot, but apparently it was confirmed that he is the Toxic Avenger. It's not, he's, what's his character's name in this? I think they said Winston is the character in this movie he's playing. Mm-hmm. He's not just Winston, he is Winston and the Toxic Avenger, so he's playing both roles, I guess. It's still the same character, I guess.
Yeah.
But that kind of confirmed that, and I also heard or read a clip or an excerpt from the director talking about why we haven't seen Toxie yet, and he said he kind of wants to hang on to that for just a little bit longer, like doesn't want to reveal it just yet.
Yeah.
I guess he feels confident about it, like he's excited to share it with everybody, but he just not just yet. So
yeah,
that's fair.
I'm wondering in the one picture where it's really shadowed, he's got the mop, like his staff. Mm-hmm. I wonder if he's going to have more like toxic powers instead of physical prowess like he did. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that they'll pay homage to the original. I'm sure his look will be similar to some degree. And like we've said before, if Lloyd Kaufman's signing off on it, he trusts it.
Yeah.
And
that's high praise. And I think that's good enough.
I will say this right now. Until the end of times, Lloyd Kaufman is one of the craziest and nicest people that we've ever interviewed and that I've gotten to meet. He is fantastic. When we were taking pictures, he was telling them to take their time because it felt good when I was touching his ass. I was not touching Lloyd's ass, obviously, but if he would have wanted me to, I probably would have, because he's that damn charming. And he even signed Toxic Avenger Blu-rays for you and for me. Yours is to Sexy Steven, and mine was for Luscious Lester. My wife doesn't even call me Luscious, so thank you, Lloyd. We love you, man.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this. I don't know when we're going to get to see it because we haven't even gotten a trailer, but hopefully we'll get to see it soon. Now, how do you feel about this? And I'm curious to get a take because I don't want to take anything away from the movie being seen on a big screen. But if we heard that it maybe was going to a streaming platform, would that upset you at all?
You know, I really don't think it would. I think it would be really cool if they could make some kind of deal, and maybe Lloyd and his team talk to them. It would be awesome if they would set up some kind of deal for it to be on Troma, on their streaming service.
Yeah.
Because that would bring a lot of attention to the Troma Now streaming service.
Sure.
And Troma films, they are what they are. They're low-budget films they can be really sexual, they can be really violent, they can be goofy, they can be horror movies. But it can
be all of that.
Yeah.
In one movie.
But it's wonderful because it's a platform that I honestly feel like if we were to be like, we're going to write a movie right now, and we wrote a movie, and we wanted to get it made somewhere, I feel like if we pitched the right idea to Lloyd and to his team, they would be more willing to put that idea out there and not screw the writers over of that idea.
Sure.
So I respect the hell out of Troma for that. Yes, it's not for everybody, but there is a lot of good stuff on there. And I think if they were to do some kind of deal where they streamed it with, even if they put it on the other streaming services, who's the distributor this time around?
I think Legendary has it, and I feel like I know that they were the production company behind it, at least one of them, and at least like the Money Men. And I know that they had recently cut ties with Warner Brothers, so I think they moved over to Universal.
Yeah.
I think so. If that's true, that could be an open door to Peacock, which, as you remember what Lloyd said, they were already streaming a lot of Troma's movies over there. Like, they had cut a deal with them to stream a lot of the movies.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a possibility. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I would hope that Troma's streaming service, its own streaming service, will get some reign over that as well. I think that would be fair.
I didn't want to throw it out there as like, no, this movie doesn't need to go to theaters, but I can also understand that I feel like the Toxic Avenger is a very niche IP that a lot of people really don't know about. This could be the opportunity for it to explode, but I don't know. But I mean, you take a look at the cast that you're already presenting up front. You say Peter Dinklage, you say Elijah Wood, Kevin Bacon, Jacob Tremblay. I mean, he's a pretty solid child actor. I mean, you've got enough to kind of get you going. I just don't know if they have the budget for the marketing. I don't know. I just don't want them to lose money on this venture. I want it to succeed, and I hope they approach it with the right know-how and get it out there to the audience properly. And
I will say this too, from the stills that I got, it looked like everybody was having a good time. I feel like this is a movie that everybody really enjoyed filming, and I hope Lloyd was able to be on set. I hope he was able to really help out with the production and everything, because like I've said and we've talked about it before, he really is. He's a mile a minute. He's so energetic. I can't imagine having to keep up with him all day on set.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he just turned, 79 or 80 when we had talked to him?
Yeah.
I mean, he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And, he saw something in James Gunn, and look at where James Gunn is now. It's enough said there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I also hope that surely he's got a cameo in this film somewhere. I mean, dude, you talk about a king of cameos. He's got a lot.
Yeah. It would be sacrilege if he didn't.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he could just be anybody. I mean, he can play anything as far as I'm concerned. So I hope to see his face in there somewhere. Face to face with Toxie, if anything.
That would be great. That would be really great.
But, that's all the news I had. I didn't really have anything else.
Well, we've kind of been all over the place. I just want to say this real quick, talking about random things, and I said I was going to bring this up on the show. I'll bring up my Linda Blair story here in a moment, but I'm going to give Ellen Burstyn some freaking credit. I've been seeing the trailers for the new Exorcist that's coming out. I'm excited for it. I didn't really think I was going to be super excited for it until that last trailer came out, and I've watched it a few times, and I don't know what it is. I've just gotten more excited about it the more that I've thought about it. But last night I was talking to my father about the new Exorcist movie coming out, and he said, I didn't know there was a new one coming out. I said, yeah, the original woman who played the mother in The Exorcist is coming back for this one. And he said, really? I didn't know she was still alive. He was genuinely shocked. He thought maybe she had passed away because he hadn't seen her.
Right.
And I said, no, she's still alive. I said, I think she's in her 80s now. Boy, was I wrong. She's in her 90s, 90 to be exact. And she's still working. Still, I guess from what everybody says, she's still energetic and everything. So I will give that woman credit all day.
Oh yeah.
Fighting demons in her 90s. Hell yeah. And she's actually... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was really surprised she came back for this. I mean, not to say that she ever discounted The Exorcist as a bad movie or anything in her career, but like you said, she's 90. I mean, hell, the mom, Melinda Dillon, didn't even come back for the Christmas Story sequel, and she was just at an age where she was like, I just can't do it. So yeah, props to Ellen Burstyn just having the energy to keep working, you know?
I looked at some of her, film history. She's been in quite a few big films. She was in Requiem for a Dream.
Yep.
I've not seen this movie, but I've heard of it. It's called The Age of Adeline.
I've not seen it.
The woman who doesn't age, and I'm pretty sure that she plays the woman's daughter in this. Fairly certain.
Okay.
Harrison Ford's even in it. His son is dating this woman that Harrison Ford was going to propose to back in the day. I mean, just to look at all the... She was even in Interstellar, which was, 2014.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's not too long ago. I mean, she's got quite the acting credits. And to come back, I don't know, to come back all these years later for an Exorcist sequel, it feels full circle in a way. And I'll give her that all day. I don't know how big her role in the movie is going to be, obviously. But even if she's in a scene or a few scenes, these movies tend to be physically demanding and everything else. I know they'll have a stunt double if there's anything too crazy. But again, just shout out to her for that, because that is just awesome. And from the last trailer I had seen, it kind of seemed like Linda Blair kind of seems like her character is maybe dead. Maybe she died.
There was, I didn't go into detail in reading it, but David Gordon Green did mention something about her and her plan, or I guess their plans for her. Let me see if I can find that, because I was kind of curious. I wanted to read about it, but at the same time I was like, well, I mean, if she's coming back, she's coming back. If she's not, she's not. And I don't want to get stuck in some clickbaity bullshit over, oh, well, she's not coming back. And then that's all it came back to. I mean, you could just put that in the damn headline. You didn't have to waste my time. Let's see. Well, you see, now the damn story is just not going to show up. Anyway, well, if you've got something else, let me.
Oh, I was just
digging here.
I was gonna, since we're talking about The Exorcist, my Linda Blair story, real quick.
Okay.
I, for some reason, thought that back in, let's say, 2015, 2016, I thought Linda Blair had died.
Okay.
I thought that she had had some health issues, something came on sudden, and she died. I could have swore that I saw a news article about it, because they said that she died not too long after Rick James had died, or something along those lines. And I was so convinced that when we did one of our previous episodes where we had brought up Linda Blair and having her come on, shows and whatnot, I second guessed myself, because I was convinced she had died. So I'm glad she's alive, but yeah. I really thought Linda Blair had died. I thought I had read it. I thought that I had seen videos of it. Like, the Mandela effect is real. And I really freaking believed it.
Okay, so regarding her, and I guess her involvement in this movie, because that was the big deal with the headline, how she's involved in the movie. So again, this could be one of those things where you go in and be like, this is what we know about Linda Blair and David Gordon Green. Here's all the facts about this movie. And then right at the bottom, there's like, Linda Blair is not involved in this movie in any way whatsoever. So, so I read all this shit for you just to tell me that. No. Apparently she was involved in the production. She was an advisor on the set for the kids. I guess since she had been in that situation, kind of going through all the horrors of the exorcism and the demon possession, I guess she kind of came on to make sure that they were going to these places in a safe way.
Yeah.
So they weren't being traumatized or mentally damaged or anything like that. So that, that's kind of cool. But apparently she did read the script, and she said she wasn't really interested in having a significant role in the film, but didn't quite say that she couldn't be involved somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, because there's still going to be 2 more movies. We heard that from the start. So,
you know what would be... Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if you did hear correctly in the trailer that she's dead, then the only way she could come back is a flashback. But we'll have to wait and see.
Well,
I don't know.
I believe in the trailer, one of the girls, when they're possessed, I think they say something to her mother, and they say, Reagan's in here with us, or something like that.
Okay.
So, it would be really interesting if... Because these are like legacy sequels.
Sure.
To a degree. It would be interesting if... Who's to say after the events of the first film, Reagan were to somehow go into a coma, and she's been in a coma all these years, battling for her soul.
Sure.
And maybe she wakes up. I don't know.
I'm going to assume they're going to take the same approach here that they did with Halloween, that Exorcist 2 does not count as canon.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that. Well, all of them. Because I don't really feel like 3 and 4... I feel like they had loose connections to the original, but nothing with her character.
Yeah.
I think it was more like exploring the father, what's his name, Father Karras?
I think so.
From the original film. So I think that was kind of an exploration of those characters and whatnot, and nothing to do with Reagan. I don't know. I'm intrigued nonetheless. I'm curious to see what they do with it, especially announcing a trilogy. Like, what was your grand idea for a trilogy?
Right. I don't know.
I'm really curious.
It's definitely going to be interesting. I'm ready to see it, and I'm going to go see Five Nights at Freddy's. I think I'll watch it when it gets home. I still need to see The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I need to watch it.
I feel like I've gotten good word that that's coming in October on Peacock.
Okay, so that won't be too far away then.
Yeah.
But
perfect time for Halloween.
And the new Saw, I
Yeah.
definitely want to see. I don't know. I love me some Jigsaw. I think he's just...
I do too.
He's great. Tobin Bell's, you hear that voice, and it takes you right to that moment. That's another thing. It's nostalgic. It takes you right back to the first Saw. I want to play a game. Come on.
I genuinely feel like that's why a lot of people didn't care for Spiral all that much, is they were missing that one little element, because he is such a selling point for those movies. And I'm really intrigued by this one since they're doing a flashback, but how many times can you do a flashback to a different time? And trying to keep them alive, I appreciate it, but I feel like you're going to run out of ideas.
Yeah. Oh.
You've killed him off.
Speaking of Jigsaw, so... Google doesn't sponsor our show at all or anything like that.
But if they want to.
Yeah. So, but I'm going to just say this. So I've been playing around with, the AI stuff, like ChatGPT and all of those. Google has its own AI chatbot that you can talk to called Google Bard.
Mm-hmm.
So I got on the other day, and I decided to ask Google Bard some questions. One of the things I asked it to do was to write me a story about the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers and Jigsaw from Saw.
Okay.
I wanted to see what direction it took. It teamed them up.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. And instead of them going against each other, it teamed them up. But it teamed them up in the way where Jigsaw, the Creeper didn't want anything from Jigsaw because he was sickly. So basically, he wanted to see the savagery that the Creeper could let loose on people. So he designed games that the Creeper could take part in, chasing victims, attacking them, basically trapping them so the creeper could take them out. So he was feeding the creeper, and the creeper was having fun watching people suffer. It wasn't super detailed, but it was a pretty cool little outline.
Okay.
And I actually really enjoyed it. So
Interesting treatment, yeah.
I did ask it another thing, and you're going to think this one is really weird. You might not be happy with who the winner was in this one either.
Okay.
So I went, what's just sort of a random idea that I can think of to put out there? And I went, I've got it. Let's put the puppets from Puppet Master up against someone. Let's figure it out here. And I went, what is something really innocent I could put them up against? I thought, well, I could do the toys from Toy Story, but that'd be kind of boring. So, coming to theaters at some point in time, Puppet Master versus the Care Bears.
What the shit?
Yes. I wanted to see what would happen there. And apparently the Care Bear magic was just a little bit stronger.
Sure.
They ended up winning, but they had become so evil from their victory that the toy world was forever in fear. Although the magic that brought the puppets to life was still strong enough to where they would return one day.
Wow.
Yes.
What the hell?
I'm probably going to actually send you over because I still have it. I'll probably send you over the whole little story. But yeah, if you can think of random characters to fight, Google's AI is a little bit more updated than the other AIs in that it has more current information it can use.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really fun to just put people together that you wouldn't think. Nobody in a million years would probably think that the Care Bears and the puppets from Puppet Master would fight. But it popped into my brain.
You know, this actually might be good for content. We could just read these stories.
You know, I thought about it. I thought it would be fun to put different people up against each other. We could give our opinion. We could see what the AI says and go from there. I think it would be a really interesting idea. So,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that's definitely something for another episode. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd love to do
I don't
that.
know why. I don't know why I thought Care Bears, but they're so innocent. Maybe that's what it was.
Maybe. Yeah.
But, oh Lord, this episode's been really random.
It's fine. It's ramblings. That's what it's all about.
I do have another question, something that I've been wanting to ask you for a little while we
Okay.
do the show. And I know we're coming about an hour and 30 minutes for recording, but out of curiosity, and I've been thinking about this a lot, we do get the opportunity to interview people sometimes on the show.
Mm-hmm.
If you had the chance to interview anyone, and I know that we've talked about this before, and you'd really want to interview like Joe Bob Briggs and stuff like that. But here's the kicker: alive or dead.
Ooh. Alive or dead. Yeah, that kind of opens up some doors.
And obviously, this is a horror podcast, so I'm sure you probably have some horror people that you would want to interview. But I've always wondered who it would be that you would want to interview and why.
That's a difficult question, man. Because I just thinking of different people right off the top of my head. There are so many. But you know what? All right, let's go into the dead territory. Someone that I know that I could not interview today and might be more fast. All right, Lon Chaney.
That's a good one.
Why Lon Chaney? Because I think he would be fascinating to deep dive in. You know, I mean, he was acting at a time when there were no talk shows and programs like that. So I don't really feel like there are any interviews with the man.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to understand his process, like what got him to act in the movies that he did, to take the initiative, to do the makeup, and to just really drive home. Now, granted, I know there's a movie. I've seen it. It's fictionalized. And while there may be some bits and pieces that are, I mean, I'm sure there's truth in there, sure, but it's dramatized. I want to know the real hard truth about why he took those steps to be the man of 1,000 faces, as it were. I think that would be kind of fascinating, because how many actors do you know today that would go to those lengths to get the roles that he wanted?
Yeah.
So I think he would. Yeah, I think he would be one just because he's dead. That's an easy one.
Yeah, and to piggyback just real quick, even talking to him strictly about the makeup he did could be an extremely fascinating interview, because he was doing things at the time that nobody understood how.
Yeah.
He did things that even today people are like, how did you do that before before we had the things that we have now. And he took that to his grave. So
Sure.
that's a good one, though. I like that one. That's a real good one. Mine's kind of basic, but and there's been interviews with him and everything. And I think it's just because I'm such a Nightmare on Elm Street fan. I would have loved to have interviewed Wes Craven.
Sure.
Just to talk to him, because I've seen interviews with him. I've been listening to a biography on him. Just a very soft-spoken man, very gentle man. Like, it's a wonder he wasn't on like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, because he was just that kind of person. He was just so impactful to all those around him. And when he passed, everyone that posted up about him, it was, oh my God, are you serious? Is this for real? And they all just had these wonderful things to say about him. It was like he didn't fit into that world, but he understood that world.
I can understand that, yeah.
And, he's got one of my favorite lines. He said, if I'm going to be a caged bird, I'm going to sing the most beautiful song I can sing. And there was more to him than just Nightmare on Elm Street. He did so many amazing films. He did so many things that were just impactful at the time, things that you wouldn't necessarily understand. The Serpent and the Rainbow. That's one of those films that when you actually do the research on everything that happened in that film and you look at behind the scenes stuff, you get a whole new feel for it. And just to hear him talk about all of that, just to hear him talk about his life growing up in Ohio and talk about everything, I think he would have just been a very interesting person to just talk to about anything. It wouldn't even have to be Nightmare on Elm Street. I would ask a million questions about Nightmare on Elm Street, but
Sure.
it would be fun to just to talk to him. So I think you got me beat, though. I mean, with the Lon Chaney thing, because I think you're right. There are no interviews. So
Yeah. I mean, even Wes Craven, you think about that, he was passed before podcasts really boomed.
Yeah.
And so we've got interviews, TV interviews and whatnot, but a podcast, I mean, that's where you can really get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Where you can have these deep dive conversations with someone and really get to know them. I mean, that's one of the things I love about a lot of the ones that I listen to, is that when you can get a good interview going and you learn something about somebody that maybe you didn't know, even if you knew maybe a snippet, maybe you like heard a tale and then they elaborate on it. That just gives you more context, or maybe they clarify something that, you'd always heard the rumors about something, and then they come on and they clear the air and be like, no, this is what actually happened.
Yeah.
So those are stories that I love to hear.
Because
it just
go ahead.
gives context.
Who I'm surprised that you I know there's a lot of people that are living that you would love to interview, but there's two people that I could think of right now that if we got them on the show, I think you would just be ecstatic. Brad Dourif and Jennifer Tilly.
Yes, absolutely. I probably would stumble every word and not know. Word vomit would come out. That's pretty much it.
Both of them have great careers, and all the behind the scenes stuff that they would be able to talk about, it'd be great.
Oh yeah. Just alone, I mean, I know Chucky would be the prime thing to talk to Brad Dourif about, but hell, I would go, and I love him in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was like his starting role. He plays Billy to a T. I mean, it's just so fucking good. The stuttering and everything. I mean, I know some people could say, well, that's a little bit too much or whatever, but I feel like it's natural the way he does it.
Yeah.
Because if you've ever seen someone kind of get stuck in a stutter, that's what they do. It's like they just can't get it out. They're trying, but they cannot vocalize it. And he had that rhythm. Never once did I feel like he was putting it on too strong or faking it or anything like he earned that Oscar nomination that he got for that film. So that movie alone, I could have 100 questions for, because wow.
That's the thing about him that I love. Even when he's playing, like, I'm gonna name two movies right now that I absolutely love him in, but his roles in them are not huge roles. Lord of the Rings and Alien. Yeah. His role in both of those movies is not a very prominent role, I would say. But he just has this energy. He can pull in a room. I mean, I don't know what it is about him. He's good.
I didn't even think about that, but he's encountered aliens and he's encountered critters. Go figure. Two alien species.
And just to say this too, if you think about it, he's even taken on Michael Myers to a degree. You don't care for those ones, but
it's true. Yeah, but he did. He
played the sheriff.
So that's true. Damn, that's right. Dude's a powerhouse, and he is a horror icon on top of everything
Yeah.
else. So dude's just like wow.
And I love how
Don't think about it until you
Yeah.
think about it.
and I love how Chucky's become like a family business because his
Sure,
kids are involved with it too, which is just wonderful. And then you've got Jennifer Tilly who she's still one of my crushes to this day.
Oh yeah, she is.
And
Just one of those that I don't even know how to describe it. You just something about her. I mean, I understand she's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'll take 2 cups of that every day.
and she's like genuinely nice. Like she's great in everything she performs in, but just as a person, like everything I've seen, like I just saw a clip not too long ago. Her ex-husband and her were still really close. They were still great friends, and she even said, she's like, I spend more time with him now that we're divorced than when we were together. But they kept a friendship. He unfortunately passed away from cancer, I believe. But she only ever had nice things to say about him, was only ever sweet when it came to him. She would go and help him out. You don't hear people doing stuff like that very often.
No.
But
I mean, I think that's a situation of knowing that maybe you're just not meant to be together romantically, but you do have a good rapport and you can be friends. I mean, I've got a friend or two that, I dated at one point, and just, I know that we just were not going to work in that regard. It's just, but I like them. I mean, they're still a good friend, and I'll call them as such, but romantically, it's just not going to happen.
And I get that. Now, real quick, because I've got one more person who's alive that I think we both would agree would be great to have on the show. Bruce Campbell.
Sure.
Bruce Campbell would be great. Mm-hmm. That's about all the people I can think of. I mean, there's a lot, but we're gonna fall down another rabbit hole that we don't need to fall down.
Yeah, there's a huge list out there. Trust me.
And Tony Todd, if you're listening to the show, you're friends with Steven on X. Just come over to the podcast, join us for an episode.
Yeah, please.
And for
talk about anything.
And for anyone out there, since this has been a bunch of randomness, I am holding the Mountain Dew Voodoo flavor. They teamed up with a candy company this year. Anybody want to let me know what they think it is? I think it tastes like Airheads. Just gonna.
It's kind of like those mystery Doritos.
Yeah.
That they did. I got a bag of those, and as soon as I took a bite, I was like, this tastes like something I don't like. That's Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
Sure enough.
We have Doritos around here right now. You get, they're like mystery bags, but what it is you're eating normal Doritos, and every so often they throw in, like, one might have like sour stuff on it, or one might be spicy, and I'm like, look, I just want my bag of chips. Leave me alone.
Oh, is that the roulette bag?
I think so.
Yeah.
And
those are interesting.
yeah. But I don't have anything else. I know this episode's been really random, but you know what? I don't care. It's good to be.
You were off.
It's good to be back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We just had to kind of get back on track.
Yeah.
And everything.
We the wife and I had one of those little crotch goblins, as people call them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was off for a minute.
Hopefully, whoever was gonna give you praise or condolences did as such as I instructed them to do. But anyway, Ramblers, here's this week's assignment. Yes, I'm going to give you an assignment. I want to see how many people are paying attention. Since Lester has come up with this great idea of AI-generated fights and script outlines, I want some of you, all of you, matter of fact, to go on ChatGPT or Google Bard or whatever AI service you want. I know we've been advocating against it because of the strikes, but for the sake of just having some fun, just to see how bad of an idea this could be, go type in a horror fight with a horror icon and then whatever random creature, character that you can think of, and see what the script is. Send it to us, and we will read it here on the show. I want to do this. I want to do narratives.
And remember this. AI is great for helping you come up with a concept, but don't cheat and just use it for the whole concept. We're gonna put that. It's a good tool, but keep going.
And do not send us first draft. Don't even try to, if you don't like it, That's the whole purpose. We want to prove that it's a bad idea, but it still could be interesting because I wouldn't have expected Jigsaw and the Creeper to team up. Why they came up with that, I don't know, but cool. You know, that's something I wouldn't have thought about.
I can do Godzilla versus Cthulhu. Yeah.
See? It's there. So send us any of these that you come up with, because I'm sure we'll have some that we do, but maybe you're thinking of ideas like Puppet Master versus Care Bears. I would have never in a million years come up with that concept. And here Lester is just thinking, Care Bears, that sounds like a great fight. So do that. Send it to us through gmail.com if you would. horrorramblings@gmail.com, because I'm sure those are going to be some pretty big files. But if you do so, let us know on Twitter or X, or I keep calling it X and going back to Twitter. I don't know why I keep doing that shit. But anyway, yeah, hit us up over there. Come join our Facebook group or our Discord room. Find us on Instagram. I'm trying to make sure that I post up on Instagram too anytime a new episode comes up, so you see it in the stories. If you want to support the show, you do that over on Patreon, patreon.com/pencilpaperproductions. You can give us a 5-star app or 5-star rating on your favorite app. That's what I meant to say. And if you got friends who love horror and they're looking for a horror podcast, tell them about us and tell them to give us that 5-star rating as well. Maybe they'll see us in the recommended after you do that for a while. See if we posted up any questions or polls on Spotify. And finally, pencilpaperproductions.com/horror-ramblings for everything. All these links there and in the show notes down below for your convenience.
And remember, guys, stay spooky out there.
This has been the Horror Ramblings podcast. Join us next time for even more.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.